مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Respected brothers and sisters, I welcome you all to this episode of Harakatu Falah al-Islam short videos and educative topics. And with me are the students of Tarbiyya secondary schools, Tarbiyya secondary school, right here in the central mosque of Harakatu Falah al-Islam, Paringawa Locus, Kaduna. And these students are students of HIV and AIDS club in the school that are taking awareness on HIV and AIDS to the next level. Today's discussion is going to center on HIV and AIDS with particular emphasis on discrimination and stigma against people living with HIV. From the north to the south and from the west to the east, there are thousands of people living with this virus. And these same people are facing a lot of stigmatization and a lot of discrimination within the community. And we must rise to say no to this stigmatization and discrimination, because these people are people like us. They have the right to live and they have the right to associate. So this year's HIV campaign is end the stigmatization and end the discrimination against people living with HIV through knowledge. And that is why we are here. We have our discussant. By my extreme right, we have Sadiq Muhammad, who is an SS3 student, is going to be here as one of the panelists and discussant to this important gathering. And next to him is my friend Salahuddin Amin Abubakar, who is also from SS2, is going to share with us a lot of verses and ahadith that are talking about discrimination and stigma of people living with HIV. We want to take it from the conventional point of view to the religious dimension. And right here by my left, we have a sister, Salma Habib, who is chairing and who is leading the club and the society, who is leading this club and society of HIV and AIDS in the Tarbiyya secondary school right here in Barnawa. And next to her is Aisha Shuaib, is going to also be part of the discussions. And my respected students and my friends here are also with us from the society, that is HIV and AIDS Club in the Tarbiyya secondary school. I wish to welcome you all to this very important discussion. I hope you are going to find it educative and you are going to contribute and you are going to ask questions and we are going to share the knowledge to the world so that we can stop this discrimination and stigma against people living with HIV in our various and respective communities. I hope you will enjoy the program. You are all welcome to the program. My humble self is, my name is Muhammad Bello Awal, the lead, the moderator for the program. I'm going to also be with you, inshallah, to discuss this important program. Without taking much of our time, let me introduce our first discussant, Sadiq Muhammad, to tell us What is HIV and AIDS? Let's start from that dimension. Yes, my...
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am by name Sadiq Muhammad, and I'm here to talk about the definition of HIV and AIDS. Before I go further, I would like you to know the full meaning of HIV and AIDS. For HIV is human immunodeficiency virus, and for AIDS is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So, what is HIV? HIV is a virus that attacks the body immune system. If HIV is not treated, it can now lead to AIDS. There is currently no effective cure. Once people get it, they have it for life. But with proper medical care, HIV can be controlled. People with HIV who are undergoing HIV treatment can live longer, healthy, and even help their partners. So how can this virus can be contracted? This happens primarily during sexual intercourse or during blood transfusion, such as during blood exchange, and from an infected mother to her infant during pregnancy, or by using unsterilized instruments like razor blade, needles, syringe, and other circumstantial instruments. The following points are the symptoms of HIV and AIDS. You have fever, mouth ulcer, night sweat, sore throat, fatigue, rashes, chills, and muscle ashes. So, how do I know if I have this virus? For you to be very sure that you do not have HIV virus, is for you to get tested to know your HIV status to avoid contracting or spreading it. Thank you.
Well done. This prelude for this introductory presentation. We are still coming back to you to throw some questions on especially where are some of these places that are reliable that can one go to have himself tested to know his status, because knowing your status is very important, and that shows that you are protected and others are also protected from relating with you. So this is very important. We now move to the second discussant. By my right, Salma Habib, who is going to take us also to another dimension of HIV and AIDS. Salma, our people, or generally people, believe so many things about HIV. Some said HIV is not even true. There are a lot of things that are associated with this HIV and AIDS. Can you clarify these positions of different views, of different point of views of people about the HIV and AIDS?
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Salma Habib, and I'm going to be telling you about the myths on HIV. According to the latest statistics of HIV prevention and control, approximately 36.7 million people today are living with HIV and AIDS virus. So here are some myths on HIV, that is rumors that are not true about HIV. 1. HIV is a death sentence. People living with HIV are not expected to have a normal lifespan. That is, it's just like our normal day sickness. When you don't take treatment, it tends to eat you up. So when you're having HIV and you don't have treatment, you're not expected to have a normal lifespan. So people make it a big deal that HIV is a death sentence. 2. You can tell if someone has HIV. When someone has HIV is not remarkable. That is, HIV tends to have many symptoms that are regular with our daily illness. That is fever, cold, and the rest. So when someone has HIV, you can't tell if the person, you can't see it from the person's forehead because it's not written there. So you won't know if the person has HIV by looking at the person. 3. HIV positive women can't safely have children. Pregnant.
This beautiful presentation on this issue of myth on HIV. Some people believe, and these beliefs are not true. Some people believe once you are an HIV positive, then you are good to go. You are a dead man walking on earth, and this is not true. And some people believe HIV is only contracted through immoral sexual activity, which is also a myth. There are various ways in which HIV and AIDS can be contracted, as mentioned by our brother Sadiq Muhammad. And, and today, people contracted this HIV much more than, in other ways, much more than you expect, especially our youth who are engaging in drug abuse by injecting themselves. And one injection, one syringe will be used by so many group of individuals. And if this automatically said, if one of them is HIV positive, it means he has the tendency of infecting the other people. And that is why we are seeing the rate of HIV and AIDS among the youth is very prevalent and is very alarming. So let's move a bit towards our left to give our sister Aisha Shuaib a chance to talk about the most important thing. And the most important thing is that contracting HIV is not a crime on its own, but stigma and discrimination could be seen as a crime because you are giving, you are not honoring and dignifying somebody as it's supposed to be. Therefore, we must, as people, as community, especially as Muslims, we must see how best we can encourage people living with HIV and AIDS, because there are people like us, because they need our hope and courage, because as rightly mentioned by our brother, if they receive proper medical care, they can live longer and healthy. And let's give them this encouragement so that they can live as people, so that they can contribute their quota in the development of our society, in the development of our country and the world at large. So Sister Aisha, what this stigma, as some people said, the stigma and discrimination, what is it? And how does it affect the lives of people living with HIV and AIDS? Because I learned that some people said the discrimination is even killing much more than the HIV itself. How true could this be?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Aisha Shaibu, presenting you with the topic HIV and the subtopic HIV discrimination and stigmatization. Stigmatization can be defined as a negative stereotype, while discrimination can be defined as a behavior which results from that negative stereotype. Often, individuals with HIV are faced with multiple intersecting layers of HIV discrimination. That means they face a lot of discrimination and stigmatization. According to WHO, that's World Health Organization, the statistics said that most people that die of HIV don't die because of the illness, but die due to stigmatization and discrimination. This means when someone has HIV, he is either devalued, discriminated, or stigmatized. When I say stigmatized, I mean the person is placed under a traumatizing life. Examples of discrimination and stigmatization: a health personnel refusing to give care or services to someone having HIV, refusing casual contact with someone with HIV, devaluing other people due to HIV. Effects of HIV and HIV discrimination: mental illness, isolation, despair, shame, or fear of disclosure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from the religious perspective. We have among us we have somebody who is aspiring to be a religious jurist that is going to clarify some of these issues, especially the issue of stigma and discrimination. Looking at it from the religious perspective, what the religion of Islam have to say about it. Is it right for Muslims or for individuals to be discriminated on the grounds of their health, or on the grounds of their gender, or on the ground of their social status? Could this be right or wrong religiously? We are religious people, especially in Nigeria, and as Muslims, we are being guided by the religious context in whatever we are going to do. So let's hear from our brother Salahuddin Al-Amin to know what is the religious ruling on this important issue of discrimination, whether discriminating people.
Religion aspect of discrimination. Religion discrimination is treating a person or group differently because of a particular belief. This includes instances when adherents of different religion, denomination, or non-religion are treated unequally due to the particular belief, either by the law or institutional settings, such as employment or houses. Islamic religion discourages or forbids this sort of acts. As a good Muslim, you are not supposed to take it irrespective of. As a good Muslim, you are not supposed to take irrespective of. As a good Muslim, you are not supposed to take people irrespective of their tribe, culture, illness, and political party. Like this, Islam faith throughout the Middle East, absorbing different nationalities, customs, classes, and religions. Later, it spread through Asia, India, and Africa. Prejudice and discrimination were not common in Muslim societies due to the diversity of their inhabitants. All people, regardless of their origin, are equal in Islam, and the only thing that distinguishes them is of commitment to their religion. Allah says in His glorious Quran, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم والله عليم خبير. O mankind, indeed, I have created you for male and female, and tribal you that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noblest of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Allah is knowing and aware.
Thank you very much. This chapter he has quoted is the chapter can be found in Surah Al-Hujurat, chapter 49 of the Holy Quran, verse 13, which clearly prohibits stigma and discrimination on the grounds of whatever. People should be seen as equal, and they should be dignified, and they should be respected, irrespective of their respective challenges. One must be tested, and Allah has various ways of testing individuals. People can be tested with HIV and AIDS. People can be tested with blood pressure. People can be tested with various types of sicknesses and illnesses. People can be tested with even poverty. People can be tested with their relatives. So it is all test, and people who are tested on with HIV and AIDS should not be discriminated, should not be stigmatized on the grounds of their health or HIV status. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be with us and guide us. But shortly before we come back to our discussants, we are moving now to our audience to have some contributions, if any one of them have a contribution, before we come back to our discussants, so that we can continue with the discussion. Does anybody have a contribution to this discussion? Yes. in 1 minute.
My name is Fatima Adam. My contribution is based on the way it transfers from mother to child. In today's world, when a woman is pregnant, she can go to hospital for antenatal, and they can be checking her so that her child will not also be an HIV positive person. So a mother might be HIV positive, but the child can still come out negative. And secondly, people who are afraid to marry women that are HIV. Presently now, if you marry a woman that is HIV positive, there's a drug that you'll be taking when you have an intercourse with her that you're going to take it before 72 hours. Even if the HIV is in your body, it's going to flush out of your body.
Fatima, we are not going to rely on it until we hear from the experts, that is the health personnel. But this is just an idea of what Fatima perceive and believe. We don't know whether it's still a myth or it's a true, but the health personnel can be able to help us to give us the perspective from the scientific aspect. Anybody with any contribution? Alright, in the absence of any contribution, we are moving to the last segment of this discussion, where we are going to ask some questions. Yes, Sister Salma, can you give us more myths, more things that people believe but they are untrue with regards to HIV and AIDS?
Have children. HIV positive women can safely have children because, like, when they go to the hospital, they can undergo treatment and give birth safely. So after giving birth, they can take their child to hospital to have treatment for 4 to 6 weeks. So many people believe that they can't have children, but it's a false rumor. HIV positive women can have children safely. And people normally believe too that if they are on medication, they can't spread HIV. HIV can be spread too when you're on medication, as long as you are having sex outside. So it's also advisable that you stick with your partner and also get tested before getting married.
Thank you. Let's take the last from the sisters' wing. Aisha Shoaib, you talked about the effects of this HIV and AIDS. Does this people living with HIV and AIDS, does that have impact on their earnings, on their livelihood? What do you think?
Yes, it does. People that have HIV usually experience shame or fear of disclosure. That means they are unable to tell people how they feel about different ideas or things because they feel they are left out of the crowd. Usually it affects their social, economical, social and psychological life. When I say psychological, I mean it affects their mental health, like they feel stigmatized and traumatized about different issues, so they are unable to tell people how they feel. Social life, it affects how they relate with other people. If they were friendly people, they become introverts and not extroverts anymore. If they were nice people, they become the opposite. So when we talk about their economical life, the way they decide not to go out, find a way of living or any other way to have their means of income. Because they feel when they go out, other people, the whole world knows they have HIV. So they are scared.
It means that people living with HIV, that the virus or the disease affect their livelihood. They may likely lose their job because they may be discriminated against. And you can see that their economic status will be what? Will be maybe from 10 to 0 level. And this is very dangerous. And their contribution also to the development of the community is also being lost, whereby it is also bringing down the community down. So we need to really work very hard to ensure that this issue of discrimination is being addressed. in our community. And we thank God with younger generation of you coming as a club under your school, the club of HIV and AIDS, where you are trying to create awareness among your peers and among the larger world on what people should do to prevent themselves, and also those who are affected, how could they manage themselves, and as you are working very hard also to end discrimination among people living with HIV for better development. This is a very good initiative. Keep it up and God will be with you. And let's take the last point from our brother. What is your advice from our youth today? I'm talking about Brother Sadiq Muhammad. What can you advise our youth? How can you advise our youth, especially those who are engaging in drugs, to stop taking drugs, because they are vulnerable to contact HIV/AIDS through drugs. What's your
I don't say no to drugs.
that the youth of today should say no to drugs generally, and most importantly, those drugs that are being carried through injection, because they use unsterilized materials, needles, to inject themselves with those materials. So Salahuddin, what's your take? Can you add any religious text, whether the Quran or Hadith, that prohibit discrimination? Do you have any addition in what you have earlier said? All right. So, in the absence of this, I think now we move to the audience. 1, 2, question and answer session. Our panelists and our discussants are here. If you have any question, you can indicate by raising up your hands so that we can ask questions. Your name, please.
My name is Abdullah Hamza. So please, what are the symptoms of HIV?
Symptoms of HIV. HIV and AIDS. I think somebody have mentioned. Can you mention this?
We have fever, mouth ulcer, night sweat, sore throat, rashes, arches, fatigue, and muscle arches.
And including severe fever. Yes.
I'm by name Abdullah Ibrahim Al-Modar. My question here is, please release ways that HIV/AIDS cannot be contracted.
Thank you very much.
HIV/AIDS cannot be contracted or can be prevented through the use of going to hospital for usual checkups, avoid sexual intercourse, stick to your partner, as Salma rightly said, and other ways. But these are the major ways.
Yes, avoid using unsterilized materials. Don't share materials that are used by other people. We mean like clippers, like needles, like razor blades, and be very careful during blood transfusion. Health workers should properly use their protective gadgets and should always keep themselves clean and wash themselves using the sanitizer to sanitize themselves. These are some of the ways to avoid HIV contraction. And above all, we should also try as much as possible to reduce the level of infection, because if the level of infection is being reduced, it means the vulnerability of the community will be less. As rightly said, we have to take the message, pass it, and sensitize our people so that we can avoid contracting HIV and AIDS. It's real and it is killing a lot of people. It is in the West, it is in the South, it's in the North, and it's in the East. It covers everybody, all generation, the young, the old, the male, the female, including children. So this is actually a disaster that is taking or that is killing our communities. We have to stand firm and fight it, and we can fight it through knowledge, educating the people. As the theme of your club for this year's campaign is combating the HIV/AIDS through what? Knowledge. This is very important. Let's pass the knowledge and let's know that HIV is real, and let's start working against any contraction or infection. So let's take the question from...
If blood, let's say blood stain of an infected person is on the substance, the virus lasts in the blood for either 24 hours or more. But it depends on the strength or the, let's say, the chronicity of the virus in the person's blood.
Thank you very much. Finally, we are taking the last question from that.
Start.
My name is Fatima. My question is that, is it possible for an infected mother to give birth to a child without the child being infected? If possible, how?
We have had various questions and contributions from our sisters. We want to appeal to each and every one of you to take this campaign to the larger society. Let's stop discriminating people on the grounds of their HIV status, and let's get ourselves tested, and so that we will be sure getting yourself tested will save many people from infection. And let me remind you, using the house utensils, the spoon, the plates, and other materials being used, shared with people that are living with HIV, is not a ground for contracting HIV/AIDS. We pray to God to protect us from this deadly virus. And our sister Aisha Shuaib is going to recap the whole session for us, so that we have a very good outing. We thank you very much, the group HIV and AIDS Club from Tarbiyya Secondary School. Thank you very much. Let's hear from our sister Aisha.
We are going to have the recap. From the beginning, we had definition of HIV and AIDS from Brother Sadiq. We had the myth about HIV from Sister Salma, discrimination and stigmatization from me, and Salahuddin, Islamic aspect of stigmatization and discrimination. There is a significant challenge towards the treatment, care, and support of HIV. Everyone is required to join. Thank you.
So get yourself tested in the designated centers. Testing is almost free. Medication is free. Let's encourage people living with HIV and AIDS to go and test and take their medication regularly, so that they can live healthy and longer. Let's stop the discrimination against people living with HIV. We meet again in another episode of our series of short videos from this center of Harakatu Falai Islam Barna Locus Kaduna. I say thank you very much.
Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik alayhi. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik alayhi. نفسي أشوفك